Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann. In the 1920s and 30s, the Osage Indians were extremely wealthy because of the oil that was discovered on their reservations, and they were among the wealthiest people in the world per capita. Because Osage Indians were looked down upon in this particular time and place, and because governmental leaders are fond of having power and a lot of money, the Osage Indians were murdered and robbed of a lot of their oil rights. Much of this was covered up because anyone who was in a position to do something about these murders had an incentive not to do anything, often financial, and so there were a lot of murders that just weren't investigated. This was at the beginning of the FBI, when it was still unclear what exactly the role of the FBI was and what their jurisdictional boundaries were. And so their success here with solving the Osage murders increased their prestige and led the FBI to being what it is today. Also, I need to give a shout out to Sunny Poland 82 for requesting the book, because I watched the movie and read the book, and I really liked both of them, even though they were very different in what they talked about. The movie is mainly from the perspective of Ernest Burkhardt, the Leonardo DiCaprio character, who's being manipulated by his uncle, played by Robert De Niro, and the Robert De Niro character is the one that has the plot on all the Osage money. The uncle convinces Ernest to marry this Osage woman, Molly, and then the uncle has a lot of her family systematically killed, and he has Ernest administering poison to her via the insulin that she needs. I really enjoyed the movie because I thought the Leonardo DiCaprio character was so interesting, because he lives with this cognitive dissonance of legitimately loving his wife, and yet he's involved with all these terrible things and he just can't face it. Like, even though he knows that it's true, all these terrible things that he's doing and the larger plot that his uncle's trying to do, it's like he just can't face the truth, and it goes right all the way to the end of the movie. I think it was fascinating. And I love the actress who played Molly, Leonardo DiCaprio's wife, because she was such an interesting character in going along, playing by the rules, and yet she still had this determination to overcome somehow. I thought she played it really well. Anyway, I love the movie. I thought it was great. But that's a side note about the movie. Back to the book. I love the way the book is constructed because I love seeing it from the perspective of the FBI agents. One, they're trying to solve the crime, and two, they're trying to figure out what their role is as an agency in the first place. So there's lots of interesting nuances to everything that they're doing. It also allows you as a reader to piece the clues slowly together. Like, you think it's one way, but then they talk to another witness and you realize it's another way, and the deeper and deeper it goes, you see the level of corruption that's involved. And the way that the author pulls it together, David Grann is very good at this. I thought he was great doing the same thing in The Wager, of bringing facts in just the right increments so it's an engaging narrative all the way through. I love books that can take something in the real world that I'm just used to being around always, and then going back in time before it was a common thing. Like FBI agents. Like, I take it for granted now what an FBI agent is supposed to do. But back then, it was unclear. And so in reading this book, you see the corruption at the state level, and you see why there needs to be some kind of federal agency that's not a part of like the local corruption to clear up issues like this. So for the first 2/3 of the book, it's all about the FBI solving the cases. And then at the 2/3 point, they're congratulating themselves on a job well done, and the bad guys are going to prison, and then it feels like the book is over. But then there's the last third of the book where the author is doing interviews with grandchildren and digging deeper into the notes and archives in various places around the country. And he reveals that it's even worse than we thought. Like, there was a lot that happened that the FBI didn't get to. So this is an unsettling book, just because it elaborates on this time and place where a group of people were so looked down on. And there was the people in power that just didn't care that they were being murdered because of who they were. It's awful and fascinating to think that it went as far as it did. So once again, great job by David Grann. I reviewed his other book, The Wager. I thought that was also very interesting. And I'm also interested to see how that movie comes out, because apparently The Wager is going to be made into a movie directed by Martin Scorsese and starring Leonardo DiCaprio. So the team is back together, so I'm betting that's going to be a good one too. But as for this book, I'm going to give it 4.5 stars.